your go-to resource for U.S. immigration insights. We provide clear immigration news and information. Our platform provides a network of licensed attorneys who can answer your questions and guide you through the process. From visas to green cards, asylums to citizenships, immigrationquestion.com helps you to network with immigration attorneys so that you can move forward with confidence. Sign up today or download the app. Free registration, limited time offer. Stay tuned. We go live in 30 seconds.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live webinar brought to you by immigrationquestion.com, a networking platform and meeting ground where immigrants, families, and licensed immigration attorneys engage and stay informed on the latest developments in U.S. immigration. My name is GB Satusa, and I'll be your guest host for today's live session. Family preference categories, understanding backlogs, and priority dates. For many families, the U.S. immigration process can feel like an endless wait. Backlogs continue to grow, priority dates move slowly, and understanding where a case truly stands can be overwhelming. The family preference system is a complex, with each category carrying different timelines, rules, and challenges. Without clear guidance, families are often left confused about realistic expectations and the next steps. To help us navigate this critical topic, attorney Mary Radzimowski joins us. She is a Wisconsin based immigration attorney with over 16 years of experience assisting families in understanding and navigating the immigration system. With deep agency level insight, and a client centered approach, attorney Radzimowski brings clarity to one of the most misunderstood areas of U.S. immigration law. You're welcome, attorney Radzimowski. We're thrilled to have you today with us.
Thank you, Blessing. It's wonderful to be here.
Now, before we begin, a quick reminder, immigrationquestion.com is not a law firm and does not provide legal advice, representation, or services. This platform serves as a public meeting ground where individuals can learn about immigration topics and engage with licensed attorneys who participate independently. To everyone joining us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and other platforms, welcome. If you have not subscribed yet, now is a great time to do so. Grab your notepads and let's get started. Now, attorney Radzimowski, for viewers who may be new to the process, can you explain what the family preference categories are and how they differ from immediate relative petitions under U.S. immigration law?
All right. Family preference categories are for people who are not immediate relatives. Now, immediate relative is a spouse, parent, or child unmarried child under 21 of a U.S. citizen. Those people do not have to wait on lists. Everybody other than those people does have to wait on the list, and those lists are called preference categories. Now, there are 4 different preference categories. The first preference category is for unmarried sons and daughters of United States citizens. Sons and daughters means a child who is over the age of 21 or who is married. When we use the word child in immigration, we're referring to someone who's both under 21 and unmarried. Even if a person under 21 gets married, they're not a child anymore. They suddenly become a son or daughter. So they go into different categories, okay? The first preference category is unmarried sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. Now, there's one worldwide category for most of the countries in the world, all right? And then there are 4 countries which have their own separate waiting lists. And they are India, China, Mexico, and the Philippines. If you're from one of those 4 countries, you're going to have to keep checking the waiting list for your particular country's date, because they're different from the worldwide, right? And the reason for that is because there's so much immigration coming from those 4 countries. They just have longer waiting lists. All right. So back to the worldwide category. The first is for unmarried sons and daughters of United States citizens. The second, we call it the F2 category, is actually divided into two subcategories, and it's the biggest category. It is for spouses and children and unmarried sons and daughters of legal permanent residents. All right, so the F2A category is for spouses and children, unmarried children under 21 of legal permanent residents. And it has the most current date, which is February 1st, 2023. All right, that is the current priority date in the F2A category, which means if your immigrant visa petition was filed before that date, there is a visa number immediately available for you. If it was filed after that date, there isn't. You're still on the waiting list. All right, so that's for spouses and children, legal permanent residents. Now, sons and daughters of legal permanent residents go in a separate category. It is the F2B category, and there's a longer waiting list. And remember that either a child over 20, it's a child over 20, because if a child of a legal permanent resident marries, they are not eligible for a visa anymore. The only married children who are eligible for visas are children of United States citizens, and they go into the third preference category. And the fourth preference category is for brothers and sisters of United States citizens. All right, so those are the categories. Now, this all depends on what we call the priority date. The priority date is a very important concept. It's the date your application, your I-130 petition for alien relative, or employment-based petition was actually received by USCIS. And that date will be printed on your receipt notice. That's the receipt notice that you receive when you file your application. So that's the date that you have to keep comparing to the dates you see in the Visa Bulletin. All right? Do you have any questions?
Yes.
Are there any questions at this point?
All right. Now, you've touched based on priority dates, and priority dates often cause confusion and frustration for families. How are priority dates assigned, and why do they play such a critical role in determining when a visa becomes available?
Well, the priority date is assigned on the day that your petition is received by USCIS. The day that they receive it is your priority date. And the reason it's so important is because it determines your position in the waiting list.
Right. Now, backlogs in specific family categories can last for many years. What factors contribute to these delays, and why do some countries face significantly longer wait times than others?
Okay, well, it all depends on how many people are in the waiting list, all right? Now, the reason that some countries have longer waiting lists is because there are simply more immigrants coming from those countries, all right? And the backlog is created because statutorily, USCIS can only give out, well, the State Department actually can only give out so many visas a year in each category. And if they give out that many visas and there are still some people in the waiting list, that creates a backlog.
Right. Now, when priority dates move forward or retrogress on the Visa Bulletin, how should petitioners and beneficiaries interpret these changes and plan their next steps?
All right. You should check the Visa Bulletin often to see if your priority date is coming correct. And once it does, you really have to file that immigrant visa application right away. Now, if you are in this country, if the potential immigrant is in the United States, okay, they would file an I-485 as soon as possible once the priority date becomes current, all right? Of course, the person has to be within a legal status in order to file that I-485. You have to be within legal status on the day you file your I-485. And the I-485 is the actual green card application, okay? It's called the petition to adjust status. If the immigrant is overseas, you will be notified by the National Visa Center when your date is current. Now, sometimes people get that notification before the priority date actually comes current. And that's because there's a separate date for filing, as we call it. The date for filing is the date that you are legally allowed to start filing your papers with the National Visa Center in order to receive your visa. And it has to do with how close you are to your priority date. All right? Um, the date for filing is one thing, but final action date is another date. Final action date is the day that the State Department can officially award a visa. Now, it is the job of the State Department to advise people when their priority date comes up, but they don't always do that. That's why it's very important for immigrants to keep looking at the Visa Bulletin. And if you can see that your priority date has come current and you haven't gotten an email from the National Visa Center, you have to get in touch with them because there is a rule that says once a visa becomes available, the person has to apply for a visa within 1 year of their date. And if you don't, your application can be canceled. And believe it or not, the National Visa Center will actually hold applicants responsible, even if they were the ones who forgot to advise people to do this. Actually, though, they have to by law. And if they don't follow the procedures, you can follow up on that and you can force them to reinstate your petition. But it's very important that if your priority date comes current and you have not heard from USCIS, you send an email to what we call the National Visa Center Public Inquiry form. Okay, and it's very easy to find online. Just type in NVC Public Inquiry form, and that link should come up. And there's a very simple form you fill out online, and tell them, look, my priority date came up, and I have not heard from you yet. Please create a case for me. It's up to the National Visa Center to create a case for you with the State Department once your priority date comes current.
All right. Now, for families stuck in long backlogs, are there any legal strategies or alternative pathways that may help shorten wait times or provide temporary status while waiting?
Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do to force the line to go faster. It's simply a line. It's a waiting list. You can't push that forward at all. But what you can do is what I just said. Watch the Visa Bulletin. Make sure you get in touch with NVC once your priority date does come current.
All right. What are some common mistakes families make while waiting for their priority date to become current? And how can those mistakes negatively affect an otherwise approvable case?
All right. Well, again, it's not checking the Visa Bulletin. I have to keep going back to that. All right. Now, with preference category relatives, they cannot adjust status within the United States unless they have continuously maintained a legal status here. Say, for example, your relative is on a visitor's visa, and you file an I-130 petition for that person. The fact that that I-130 petition is pending does not give that person the right to stay here. It simply doesn't. They can only stay as long as their authorized stay in visitor status is current. If it's about to expire, you can always file a petition to extend your status, whether it's visitor status or student status, whatever status that person has to be in. But it's very important to maintain a legal status because if a preference category relative falls out of status, they're not going to be able to get a green card here without going overseas. And of course, if they leave the country after having been here unlawfully present, we're going to have a very hard time getting back in again. So I would say maintaining that status, legal status for people who are actually present in the country, and for people who are overseas just watching the priority dates.
All right. To everyone tuning in live, thank you for being part of this critical discussion. Understanding how family preference categories and priority dates work can help families set realistic expectations and avoid unnecessary delays. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. ImmigrationQuestion.com is a networking platform where immigrants and families can ask immigration related questions for free and engage directly with licensed attorneys. Many users may also qualify for a free confidential consultation. We are also proud to share that ImmigrationQuestion.com is a triple B accredited, reflecting our commitment to transparency, accountability, and community education. Now, Attorney Radzimowski, with your experience helping families navigate long immigration timelines, how do you see how platforms like immigrationquestion.com assisting families in better understanding backlogs and staying informed while waiting for their priority dates to become current?
Excuse me, could you repeat the last part of that question? I didn't quite hear.
Yes. How do you see how platforms like immigrationquestion.com assisting families in better understanding backlogs and staying informed while waiting for their priority dates to become current?
Well, it's very important to have an experienced attorney to consult with and to check the status of your case periodically. Um, Also, it's very important to keep both USCIS and the State Department advised of any changes in address, telephone number, emails. Those things are crucial because they have to be able to contact you, and it's your responsibility to make sure that they can contact you.
Thank you for that insight. Before we move into our live Q&A session, one final question. For families currently waiting in a long backlog of a preference category, what practical steps can they take now to stay prepared and avoid delays once their priority date becomes current?
Well, like I said, you have to make sure that both your address and contact information and the immigrant's address and contact information are current with USCIS and the State Department at all times. I don't advise people to dispose of property or anything until they actually know that they've received it. I mean, I wouldn't make any plans to actually travel early because you can never tell exactly when you're going to be called for the interview. Um, I think that patience is important with this answer. Of course, you have to make sure that you have all your documents in order because you're going to be asked to show the originals of all your vital documents at the interview, your birth certificate, your marriage certificate, etc., etc. But that's about all you can do while waiting.
All right. If you've just joined us, we've been in an insightful discussion with attorney Mary Radzimowski on family preference categories, understanding backlogs, and priority dates. We're now moving into our live Q&A session. This is your opportunity to ask your questions directly to a licensed immigration attorney. Drop your questions in the chat or call us live at 516-703-3483 and we'll take as many as possible during this session. Why is my F3 visa taking so long to be ready? Almost 10 years now. Is that normal?
Uh, what kind of visa was it?
F3 visa.
F3 visa. Okay, so you are a unmarried child of a United States citizen? And what country are you from?
I don't think there's an answer now.
All right. The F3 category goes back to September 8th of 2011 at this time. That's the priority date. So you have to have filed your petition before that date in order to be eligible for a visa at this time. Now, the date is the same for India and China. If you're from Mexico, that priority date actually goes back to May 1st of 2001. And you're from the Philippines, it goes back to November 1st of 2004. So you can see there really are long waiting lists in this category.
Yeah. All right. If my priority date never becomes current, is there a way to speed it up or get a sponsor for another category?
Well, you cannot speed up a priority date, and they will all eventually concurrent. But if you have someone else who could sponsor you for a kind of visa that's a little quicker to get, of course you can do that. It is possible to have more than one immigration petition pending at one time. You can have as many different petitions pending as you want to, as long as they are all immigrant petitions. You see, in immigration, we have a principle called immigrant intent, all right? When someone files an immigrant petition on your behalf, you're telling the immigration service that you intend to come here and stay permanently. And that is compatible with filing other kinds of permanent immigrant petitions, like maybe a permanent employment-based petition, or having an immigrant petition filed for you by a different family member. But it's incompatible with filing a non-immigrant petition, because you cannot have immigrant intent and non-immigrant intent at the same time. For example, once someone files a 130 on your behalf, you probably won't be able to get a visitor's visa to come to the United States, because then you would be expressing non-immigrant intent, and that conflicts with the earlier expressed intent. There is one exception to that. In recent years, the State Department has expressed a willingness to issue student visas to people who have I-130s pending in these very, very long waiting lists. The preference categories from India and China, places like that have long waiting lists. And they will say, well, yes, you can actually be a student at the same time as that I-130 is pending.
All right. Please tell me the difference between date for filing and final action date in the Visa Bulletin.
Okay, the date for filing is the date when the State Department determines it's all right for you to go ahead and start filing papers in order to apply for your visa. Your priority date might not actually be current, but it's close enough so that they will allow you to start filing papers. The final action date is the date that they can actually issue the visa.
All right. Why does it look like priority dates for family green cards hardly move for Indian applicants?
Because there are so many applicants, because they have a very long waiting list.
All right. My I-130 has been approved, but I still have to wait. Seems like priority dates did not change much this year. Why is that?
Which category are you in?
My I-130 has been approved, but I still have to wait. Seems like priority dates did not change much this year. Why is that?
Again, it's because of the number of applications that are pending. The more applications are pending, the slower waiting lists will advance.
All right. Is there anything I can do to make my priority date come early?
No, unfortunately, there isn't, because it is a waiting list, and there's no way to advance in the list except wait for your priority date to come current.
All right. Now, Attorney Radzimowski, recent reports suggest that legal immigrants could lose access to Obamacare subsidies, raising concerns about higher health insurance premiums. How should immigrant families interpret this development, and what steps can they take to stay informed and prepared?
All right. Yes, the recently passed One Big Beautiful Bill did exclude legal immigrants, legal permanent residents, from Obamacare subsidies, but only if their income is less than 100% of the poverty level, which for one person is about $15,000 a year. So next year, people with an income below that, below the poverty level, will not be eligible for Obamacare. But the legal permanent residents who have an income higher than that will still be eligible. However, according to this bill, even those people will be eliminated as of 2027. At this time, the best thing you can do to protect yourself is to be very careful in how you report your income. Make sure you report all your income, because if it's too low, you may lose your coverage. Also, I would say look into what benefits may be available through your state. Some of the states are trying to make up for this. Not all, but some. But find out about what your particular state is doing and whether you can get state benefits.
All right. Thank you so much, Attorney Mary Radzimowski, for sharing your time, experience, and clarity today. Your guidance helps families better understand the family preference system and navigate long waits with more confidence. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. We hope this webinar provided you with helpful tools and realistic insights as you move forward in your immigration journey. Remember, you can always visit immigrationquestion.com to ask immigration questions for free and engage with licensed attorneys. Many users may also qualify for a free confidential consultation. If you would like to revisit today's discussion or share it with others, the full replay will be available on Spotify soon. Just search for Borderless Talk by immigrationquestion.com. Join us again next week for another live session covering family immigration, asylum updates, green card processes, and compliance developments. Until next time, stay informed, stay prepared, and stay connected.